So if you struggle with currency making, if you're the type of person who is playing the game but you feel like you're just not getting as much out of it as you feel like you should, if sometimes you feel like you play the game for a few hours and you come away with essentially nothing, there's probably a few things that you're doing wrong. Now there are a bunch of videos out there that are going to tell you very specific strategies on what you can do right now to make money, and while those videos are very good in the very short term, because as soon as people figure out those strategies and start doing them, they become useless, I feel that there's not enough attention given to the people who maybe are not being as efficient with their time, as efficient with their currency, and maybe not knowing how to make the correct decisions when it comes to farming. So if you think that you have 1 to 2, maybe 3 hours a couple times a week, then you should be able to farm easily 5 to 10, maybe even more Exalt every single week. Now remember boys, if you're enjoying the content or this video does end up helping you out, make sure to give it a like. Also consider subscribing to the YouTube channel, hitting the little notification bell to stay up to date with all the latest videos, and without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, so there's going to be a lot of different things to talk about when it comes to overall how you can make more currency in Path of Exile, how you can spend the time that you do have and be more efficient during that. So I have set up chapters down below so you can jump to whichever part of the video that you need to. Now the very first thing that you should be thinking about when you're getting ready to farm or what you're doing is which build you're actually playing. Now I am playing a slightly more finalized version of the Spellslinger Ice Nova character that I made a video about a little bit ago, and we've gotten pretty close to as far as I'm willing to push on this build. But this build does work pretty well for both clearing maps efficiently as well as bossing, so I'm able to do a little bit of a hybrid. Now on most characters what it comes to is you are either choosing between a very fast mapping build, a very solid bossing character, or kind of something that is a hybrid of the two. I personally think that builds that are a hybrid of the two tend to produce the best results for a general player. If we're talking about like hardcore pushing for hours and doing the same exact repetitive thing, clearing maps or boss killers probably will get a little bit more performance and a little bit more currency out of it, but those are very dedicated, like high investment strategies that they're going to be doing. Now, if I had to suggest a build that you could play with very little currency that is both good for map clearing as well as bossing, I'd probably suggest Seismic Traps right now. It is still extremely powerful. If you don't like that, there are a variety of other builds that are available. You can check on Pee-wee Ninja to get some ideas. If you do want to follow the Seismic Trap, I have linked my version up in the top right now, if I remember to. The build is really good at killing bosses, relatively safe, and has pretty solid clear. So once you've actually chosen the build that you're going to play, if you're going to be playing a clearing build, a hybrid build, or a bossing build, I think that if you are not playing a dedicated bossing character where you are just bossing only, I think that you should probably choose a map that you are going to be focused on farming. In this newest patch, GGG has made it significantly easier to choose one favored map and just straight farm only that map forever, and that is through the favored map system over here. Now, I have been farming Cemetery. I don't have any of the map nodes anymore. I've gotten rid of all of the map drop nodes, and I am able to pretty consistently farm Cemetery with little to no issues, and enough of them drop that I pretty much don't have any issues sustaining. So as for the map that you choose, there's a couple things that you should probably take into account. Depending on what you're doing, you may want a different map. If you're doing something like blight farming, you're most likely going to want a map that has very narrow corridors to keep those blight lanes going in the same direction, make it very, very easy to farm those kinds of things. Get all of the mobs killed faster, make sure that you get through that map faster, get those blights down faster. That would probably be something like Silos, or something like Defiled Cathedral or something like that. I don't know that those maps are actually good, but those are the ones that would come to mind. Or maybe you're doing specifically metamorph farming and you want a map that has a bunch of bosses but still is pretty decent to clear, something like City Square. Or if you're just looking for a generically good map with good density, good divination cards that drop, as well as just a pretty solid layout, you could do something like Cemetery. Now, I have chosen Cemetery. I've actually found 2 Brother Stashes, which is 5 Exalted Orbs. It's pretty solid, good layout, good density, the boss isn't too bad, and this is the map that I've chosen. I filled up every single one of these with Cemetery, have no problem farming it. So now that you've got your build, you've got the actual map that you're going to be farming, you have to choose your Atlas strategy, what works for you and your build. Now, I want you to know that anyone that tells you that there is one specific Atlas strategy that is hands down better than anything else is most likely lying to you, at least a little bit, even if they don't realize it. Because just like anything else in Path of Exile, it really does depend on what your build is, what you want to do, and what your build is capable of, what you are capable of. Maybe you're a player that can't actually farm Maven Invitations, so someone who tells you, hey, you really need to have these Conquer nodes and these Elder nodes, you need to be farming Maven Invitations constantly, maybe you just don't have the skills to be able to do that. That means that these nodes aren't really going to do anything for you, so you shouldn't be taking them. Or maybe you're someone that absolutely can't stand blasting maps, and you really just want to buy boss maps, make money off of it, and push bosses constantly, then obviously all this map stuff is not really going to do anything for you. So the thing to keep in mind here is you need to choose an Atlas strategy that works specifically well for your character. If you're a more bossing oriented character, you're going to want to do things that are better for bossing. As I said previously, things like these Maven nodes, the Elder nodes up here. Maybe you could be Guardian farming and then using the invitations from the Maven to get, Crescent Splinters. Maybe you want to kill the Maven because you want Awaken gems off of her. I don't know that that's probably the best use of your money. And then you could also be doing Conqueror farming, killing Cirrus. Or maybe you're a mapping character. Maybe you want to do things like Essences, Strong Boxes, things like Rogue Exiles, things like Shrines, things that are just going to pump a bunch of enemies into the map so that you can get a bunch of money out of it. Now, once again, if I remember, I will link my current Atlas tree, but understand that this tree by no means is going to be the exact one that will fit for you. You should think about the things that you want to do with your character and what is going to benefit you the most. I would say, as a general rule of thumb, there are going to be things on the Atlas tree that are slightly better than others, things related to content that is worth farming for you. The boss nodes are very strong. Things that add in extra monsters as well as added guaranteed things into maps are very strong. Strong boxes, essences, so on and so forth. Content that is very popular at the moment are things like Harbingers, as well as things like Expedition. Those are all extremely easily farmable, even stuff like Metamorph, but you do need to understand, you gotta actually enjoy it, and your character has to be able to do it, so do make those decisions for yourself. So now, you've chosen a map, you have a character, you have an Atlas strategy, you have a basic idea in your mind about what you're going to do to make this money. Now, how do we actually do it? So now what you have to do is you have to choose, okay, so I've got all these things, I need to know how to actually invest into the map and what I should be doing. You should think about all the mechanics that are important that you can put into the map that will generate you currency. Now, that is going to include things like scarabs, things like sextants, things like rolling specific maps certain ways, things like delirium orbs, things like conqueror maps, elder maps, shaper guardians, invitations. There's a lot of different layers of complexity that you can put into your farming strategy that's going to cause you to make more money. So starting at the very most basic, you should be taking your map, whatever it is. I'm going to be using Cemetery. You should definitely be qualitying it all the way up to 20%. Chisels are worth absolutely nothing right now. You should have hundreds of them and never, ever, ever be able to use as many as you find at this point. And then you should, at the very least, be alching your map. Now, you might run into some mods that are completely undoable for your build. If that's the case, I do recommend that you spend a Chaos or maybe a Scour and an Alchemy if you don't have a lot of Chaos, and re-roll the map. However, what you can do with this map, if you say you roll a map, it doesn't turn out amazing, but you can do the mods, right? So for me, 78 quantity, 22 pack size, it's okay, I can do these mods, but it's not exactly the best outcome I could possibly have. I'm going to hit this with a Vol Orb because it might do one of a couple things. It'll go unidentified, which means it's going to get more quantity, or maybe it'll roll into an 8 mod map, which will be super dangerous, but potentially very lucrative, or maybe absolutely nothing will happen. But it typically is better to just use a Vol Orb than trying to spend a bunch of currency re-rolling a map if it doesn't have as many good mods as you'd like. So now that you've got your base map, now you need to think about what else am I going to juice this map with. Now, I personally am running Metamorph Scarabs, Ambush Scarabs, Breach Scarabs, and Divination card Scarabs. But this is because of the strategy that I'm currently doing. And yes, I realize that the Breach Scarab is not super useful. I do realize that there are obviously other Scarabs that are more powerful right now, like Expedition, like Harbinger. I don't like Expedition, I don't like Harbinger, I don't enjoy farming those mechanics. And for me, I know that if I enjoy what I'm doing, I am much more likely to do it. So I'm not gonna sit here and farm something that I don't like. I'll make a lot more money if I actually enjoy the thing that I'm doing. So these are the 4 that I'm using, and I do have nodes on the tree that do reflect these. Now, the Divination card Scarab is simply because of Brother's Stash. I have nothing else to really put in here that I enjoy enough. I could put like Abyss Scarabs in there if I really wanted to, but I'm not really enjoying Abyss. Legion would probably be another one, or just like, whatever else, Uniques, anything. Now, beyond that, there are also Sextants. Now, Sextants are very important right now because these are going to be giving you potentially more money than you might understand, and the reason for that is going to be charged compasses. Now, these mods that you can see here, things like Catalyst drop my Metamorphs and areas are duplicated, a lot of these are not worth that much money. However, there are a few that are worth a ton of money. I do suggest that if a modifier looks interesting to you at all, meaning things like area contains June or area contains harvests or things like that, that modify the way that the actual map is run or adds extra things to the map besides just generic mobs, you should think, well, maybe I should check to see how much this costs. For example, the last time I checked, the adds harvest to a map is like 70 chaos right now. So if you rolled over one of those, I'm sorry, you lost a lot of money. But that is the idea. So we're going to use a couple of these Awakened Sextants on the Void Stones, if you do have them. I know these are a little tough to get for some people because they're not actually able to kill those bosses. What I would suggest that you do a very basic map farming strategy and find some either streamer, content creator, or someone on the forums or such that has, you know, a very good reputation for doing boss carries, and pay to have those bosses killed for you. That will make your life a lot easier. We're going to be using 4 Sextants here and seeing what we get. So we've got 1 Sextant that's just going to add a bunch of mobs to the map. That is generally what we're looking for. We've got adds more mobs to the map. This one is map bosses are accompanied by a mysterious harbinger. Bosses drop additional currency shards, and harbingers drop additional currency shards. This is completely useless to me, and while I'm not exactly sure what this particular one is worth, we're going to grab a Surveyor's Compass. This costs 1 chaos from Kirik, and we're going to use it on this mod. So the idea is we'll grab this Mysterious Harbinger mod. I'm just going to check what this is worth. It looks like this is worth 15 chaos, roughly. So we just made 14C by grabbing and moving that over there instead of just, you know, deleting it or something. And then you'll just go back in, you'll use another Sextant on your map and see what you get. We've got maps and areas are corrupted with 8 modifiers. This is okay. You could probably keep this. I'm going to keep this just for, you know, whatever. But the last one that we got here is Strongbox monsters are enraged. This is very good. Now, normally you could sell this. You could probably make decent money off of it. However, I am doing a strongbox strategy, so I'm going to be keeping this one. So now you've got your map, you have put the Sextants on the map that you're looking to get, you've grabbed the Scarabs that you've got. Now what else should you be choosing on this map device? We've got all of our pieces in, and now it's like, well, we've got some more decisions that we need to make. One of the first ones that you should make is, are you going to be farming the Searing Exarch, the Maven, or the Eater of Worlds? What I would personally say at this time is that the Eater of Worlds is substantially more rewarding in general because of one specific node, and that is going to be this node, which gives you 50% increased chance to find Eater of Worlds altars in areas. You get substantially more Eater of Worlds altars than you do Searing Exarch. I have farmed both. The Eater of Worlds is substantially better. However, if you are doing boss farming, like Elder farming or Conqueror farming, you should absolutely be choosing the Maven and witnessing all of those Elder bosses, all of those Shaper Guardians, all of those Conquerors, and then you should be doing those invitations as you witness them in between doing the bosses and such. So I would choose between those two right now, and then on top of that, you do have options for missions. If you're doing like Delirium farming, you should probably do something like Alva's missions. If you enjoy doing Delve, you do Delve missions, and so on and so forth. Beyond that, you should be choosing one of these map mods to use. Domination, I made a video the other day talking about, you know, getting like a bunch of domination shrines and making your character super powerful. Domination is really good. It's what I've mainly been choosing. We are going to be choosing Ambush simply because I did get that Strongbox Sextant. If I did not get the Strongbox Sextant, I definitely would be choosing Domination. But there's other things, like you can put Harbinger on there if you're farming Harbingers, beyond if you're doing things like Delirium farming or things that benefit from having a lot of mobs in the map. You can also do Ritual, but you really should be focusing heavy on Ritual if you're going to be doing it, so I'm personally going to be choosing Ambush. So we've got all the pieces of the puzzle together, and now we're actually going to be running the map. So now, the biggest thing that you can do once you are actively in the map is understand that time is money. When you are running around here in this map, you need to be making sure that the time that you spend is not being wasted, right? You should be going through this map, trying to keep a pretty solid pace, not stopping, not trying to click absolutely everything. When these altars do pop up, you want to be focusing on very specific things. Make sure that you don't take modifiers that your character can't do, and also, if it benefits your Atlas strategy, right? Or maybe you're looking to do things like, Arch Nemesis, like say you've got a big Arch Nemesis recipe that's ready, you should probably be looking for like the Scarab modifiers here, get more Scarabs to drop or get more currency to drop. Other than that, I'm just going to choose things that push more mobs into the map. And you should be moving through here, getting as many things killed in as little time as you possibly can. That is the name of the game, efficiency, getting the most done in the least amount of time. Because the more time that you spend in these maps doing anything other than killing and looting is time that you are wasting, essentially, right? Be pushing through these maps, trying to get as much cleared as you possibly can. And this is going to be the crux of the issue. This is going to be the thing that most people actively do wrong, is that they spend way too much time doing things that don't actually make them money. Now that being said, if you enjoy doing those things, then you can actually get, enjoyment, fulfillment, play video games for fun. But if you're looking to specifically make money, this is something that you should be thinking about. However, make sure you don't do things like non-damaging ailments are reflected back to you if you're not able to deal with those. This build is elemental ailment immune, so I don't have to worry about that. But that is the idea. We are farming to make money, and to make money, you need to be efficient with your time. You don't want to be spending a whole bunch of time doing things that don't actively make you money. So you need to layer these different things onto your map that give you the most and best possible outcome. And then the last thing that I want to talk about that most people get wrong when it comes to farming is that you cannot get an adequate representation of whatever the farming strategy that you're deciding to do is until you've done it for a little while. One of the things that most people get wrong with these kinds of farming strategies, anytime they do something, is they pull up the strategy, they invest like 5 to 10 chaos into trying to run it with all the sextants and all the scarabs and everything that they want. They don't get anything out of it on their first try, and they give up. And this is the thing that most people do wrong. You cannot get an actual, detailed idea of whatever it is that you're doing by trying it one time. You need to try it 10 times, 20 times, 30 times, maybe 50 times before you can realistically get a real idea of whether or not it's going to work for you, whether or not it's actually something that is profitable. You can't just sit here going to a map and be like, oh, well, I tried it once and I'm going to give up. Not for me. Don't like it. Doesn't make money. Worthless. That's not the way that you do things. You need to give it a little bit more time, and I'm getting an absolutely ridiculous amount of these altars, if I'm being honest with you. It's an actual silly amount of these altars. But that's the idea. Eater of Worlds is very, very much so significantly better. But, you find the boss, you finish the boss off, you finish the map, and that is pretty much all that you need to worry about. Now, once you have finished your map, I know I haven't finished this map, I know I didn't clear like over half of it, that's okay, we're doing this for the video. Once you have finished the map, you need to be dropping off your items into your stash. You should be doing these quickly, meaning that you shouldn't be spending a whole bunch of time doing this. If you have all of the paid tabs, then you can set up affinities for them very easily. If not, you are going to lose a lot of time. Path of Exile is a game where you pay for convenience. I know that most people will not call it pay to win, but it kind of is in the sense of stash tabs. You should be making it so that you don't spend a lot of time putting this currency away or thinking about it too much, right? You control click all of these currency pieces, you can maybe identify stuff. If it doesn't work out, sell it. I don't need another one of those, I already have a unique tab full of them. And then you move on. You get into the next map and you keep going. Now, if you would like an idea of what you should be doing with those items and how to actually sell them efficiently, like say that you're selling essences or say that you're selling like scarabs or something like that, and it's just taking up a lot of your time and not letting you be efficient, go check out my video I made about bulk selling. I detail exactly what you should be doing, how you can bulk sell these items and make a ton more money off of them. Everything is over in that video. Now, how do we take this one step further? You've got a basic Atlas strategy, you've got a map, you've got a character, you've got a just idea of what you're going to do, you're going to be putting pieces into it. Well, some other ideas that you can think of, well, what can I do occasionally? If I'm playing a hybrid character, I can boss, right? If I'm just spamming maps constantly, am I really meeting the full potential of my character? Well, I'll give you an example of what I do. I have the nodes on the Atlas tree that make it so that I drop Conqueror maps as well as Elder and Shaper Guardian maps. Occasionally, when I'm feeling pretty fresh, when I'm feeling pretty done with farming cemeteries for a while, I will go into my extra tab here and farm some of these. For example, you can farm the Conquerors, make sure that you are Maven witnessing those Conquerors because it's going to make it so that you can do the actual invitation for them. The invitation can drop you Crescent Splinters as well as the actual splinters and items from the bosses themselves, and that will get you a ton more money towards doing whatever it is that you want to do. Same thing is going to go for Elder Guardian maps. You should be Maven witnessing these maps if you can handle it. If you can't handle doing the full like Maven witnessing and doing the invitations and such, I suggest that you sell these maps instead. If your character can't handle it, sell it to someone else who can. These maps are worth quite a bit. If the content is not something that your character can handle comfortably, someone else will pay you to be able to do those maps because they will be able to make money off of it. If you're a bosser, if you're just someone who mainly does bossing in Path of Exile, you're going to be the one that's buying these maps from people to do those bosses and do that high tier content because that's what's making money for you. And the last thing that I want to talk about is how you can expand this further. One thing that people get wrong is that they make all of this money and they don't actually know what to do with it. There's two things, technically three things, that you can do with your money that's actually worth your time. One, invest that money into making your character more powerful so you can farm faster. So for example, this character that I'm playing right now, it can work on like 2 to 3 Exalt, but that character feels garbage to play. It doesn't feel good at all. This character thrives on 15 to 20 Exalt. So if you make 15 to 20 Exalt over the course of the week and you can spend it on upgrading this character, making the character feel better, faster, do more damage, can clear more things more safely, you're going to start being able to be more efficient over time. The other thing that you can do is that if your character is already geared and you're making this money, you can invest that money into doing higher tier strategies. Meaning if you want to be doing boss farming or you want to be doing very high investment map farming, you can do those things with the money that you get and generate even more currency. And then the last thing is you can act like some red dragon and hoard all of it so that you can inevitably reroll a character like 5 or 6 times and then be upset that you've made 5 characters and all of them suck. And then you'll go look up one of the random big brain build creators and see whatever they're doing, copy what they're doing, and then start being able to farm maps again. And that is going to be it for the video. I hope that this was a little bit more helpful than some of those videos like, hey, do this, 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 and this, and then, you know, you do all those things and realize, ever since the content creator put out that video, the cost of buying all these materials to do this strategy has gone up like 10x and it's not actually profitable anymore. I wanted to make sure that in this video it gave you the tools that you needed to make those decisions for yourself. Once you know, hey, these are the steps that I need to do to be able to find a strategy that works for whatever I'm doing, then you'll be able to figure out, hey, well, I actually really like expedition farming. I can make a ton of money off of this. You know, I farm expedition in the maps, gets all the currency pieces. Maybe I'm doing like temporal bubbles and stuff like that, re-rolling Tujins constantly, or maybe I'm doing some ROG crafting. Or if you really enjoy things like just big giga farming of maps, you can do some like MF character and do like Breach and all those other things that just pump a bunch of enemies into the map. Or if you like boss farming, you can do boss farming. But that's the idea. You decide on a strategy and you can change it at any time. The new Atlas is really, really solid. You can move around to different strategies whenever you want. It's 2 regret orbs per point that you're changing, or just the orbs of unmaking. Use that money that you make to change between different strategies. Upgrade your character or maybe swap to a different character. Use the currency so that you can have fun and make more of it. So remember, boys, if you enjoy the content, make sure to give this video a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit that notification bell to stay up to date with all the videos, and stay safe out there in raid class. And I'll see you guys in the next video.